Unit 9, MN664 Journal. This week's experience, so really, I would say this was a very interesting experience in terms of correctly arriving at a proper assessment, after a proper assessment, and then allowing the patient to, I would say, the use of open-ended questions to elicit or get to the bottom of the investigation. And that was the theme of the week for me this week. One of the patients who does have a history of schizoaffective disorder, and he had quite a bit of a history of trauma. He came to the clinic saying that he ran out of his risperidone and was not filled because he had some issue with the pharmacy. And he tried to reach the clinic over the phone to resolve it, but it was not helpful. So then he finally showed up for the appointment, and he said that he's been having manic episodes, quote unquote. So we got some history on what does he mean by manic episode. He was hitting all the targets. He would say that I'm not sleeping enough, I barely get any sleep. And then he said that I'm starting to get quite a bit done, so I feel great about it. I feel like I'm doing a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time, and I'm able to remain focused. So we were like, yeah, this does sound like a manic episode. And then a little bit more further investigation, we asked him what time he slept today, and he says that I slept at 4 a.m. and woke up at 9 a.m. And he's like, is this what happened when you had your manic episodes? And he would say, yes, I would sleep at 4 a.m. and wake up at about 9 or 10 a.m. I'm like, okay, well, that's not truly does not qualify as insufficient sleep. I mean, he is getting about 5 to 6 hours sleep, albeit at a very odd time of the day, but that's still sleeping, qualifies as sleep. And then we would ask him, how is it that he's getting things done? What has changed? And he mentioned that he started to buy this big bottle of coffee from Starbucks, quote unquote, big bottle of coffee. And we were like, what are you talking about? Are you a coffee drinker? He's like, no, I'm not a coffee drinker. I've not been using any substances. And yes, we did get his urine drug screen done, which is pretty clean. And no other substance abuse, no stimulant abuse. He is not on stimulants. He does have a diagnosis of ADHD, so we had to get him off of Adderall and put him on atomoxetine because he was found to be abusing Adderall long ago. So all these things have changed. So he's not using any stimulants anymore. So we were like, so you don't drink coffee, but what is this big bottle of coffee? He's like, oh yeah, this is this big bottle of coffee, Starbucks, that you can find at a grocery store, and I've been buying one of those and I drink it in the evening. We don't know how much caffeine it has, but we do know that that's quite a bit of caffeine for someone who is not used to drinking coffee. So we were like, hey, is it possible that do you notice this kind of increased energy levels and lack of sleep ever since you started to drink this big bottle of coffee? And it dawned upon him. He was like, oh yeah, that's true. That's exactly on those days that I bought that big bottle of coffee from Starbucks and started drinking it. That's when I started to feel less and less need for sleep and increased energy. Well, that's that. So at this point of time, all we did was refill his risperidone and refill his atomoxetine. We did not decide to put him on any other mood stabilizer medications yet. We wanted him to get off of the coffee drinking because he's not used to drinking coffee, and he suddenly started it. He was agreeable to that plan, and then we said that we would reassess him in about 3 or 4 weeks. He is welcome to go ahead and make an appointment at the front office, and that's it. So it is most likely caffeine-induced energy hyperactivity. So that was an interesting observation I wanted to share.